Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. And the webinar about this for this morning is about the submission interface, and we'll explain you how to submit your documents from TCs. This presentation is for CEN Technical Body Officers, and we will have a similar presentation later today for the CEN Technical Body Officers. So should that be of interest for you, please feel free to join. My name is Elsa, and I'm moderating the webinar in the background. As usual, you will all be muted during the presentation, so please use the Q&A panel to submit your questions. You're not able to speak out loud or raise your hand, but you can use the panel to enter your question. The speakers will try as much as possible to reply to the questions during the presentations. If your question remains unreplied, we will provide you with a Q&A report later on. The webinar has been recorded as well, so we will share with you the recording and the presentation of today. So without further ado, please, I would like to give the floor to my colleagues, Melanie, Sebastian, and Gonzalo, who are here with me today to guide you to the submission interface. So please, guys, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Gonzalo Sensão. I'm the account manager for the digital production. And I will give you a short introduction and then invite Melanie and Sebastian to give a little bit more details about the submission interface. So the submission interface, it's a new tool that basically is replacing eTrans. So eTrans was a repositing system where you could drop your documents. And it was identified that we had some weak points in the current system. So there could be often errors in the upload, using wrong folders. It was not a very user-friendly system and no connection with the current metadata for the projects. It was a manual process, so it was a quite resource-consuming steps. It was prone to errors as well. In addition to that, it was also a lack of transparency in the process status because there was no connection with the metadata. It was also difficult to trace and to monitor from the technical body's perspective. Now, what is expected to bring with the submission interface? So first of all, you will be connected to the metadata of your project. So you'll be able to select your work item, and you will be connecting to your project, that has been created since the very beginning. By connecting with this metadata, so you will be also connected to the relevant phase of the project. So, and if you have a problem with the submission, is because there may be some issue with the steps or the phase of your project. There is also an automatic validation. So when you submit the document, you will get validation if the document is successfully transmitted, and if it's not successfully transmitted, you may have a rejection, and this will be shown a little bit more in detail by Melanie a little bit later. On top of this, you will also be able to follow the status of your submission, and also you'll get a confirmation when the document has been accepted by CCMC. In terms of expected benefits, we hope that this will be a very user-friendly tool, which aims, of course, at reducing the errors in those submissions. It is expected to bring some efficiency and transparency in the whole process, and also to ensure that you are able to trace, to monitor, and follow up all your projects. Finally, it's important for you to be aware that the eTrans is in the process of being discontinued, and no document should be provided on eTrans. So any document to be submitted to CCMC should be provided through the submission interface. And now I will give the word to Melanie, which will guide you through the usage of the submission interface.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm Melanie. I'm the project manager in charge of this project for the IT side of submission interface. And so today I will guide you to how you can access, who can access submission interface and how to access it. Then we will have a look at the homepage, which has some interesting features. And then we will look at how submitting files, what the different fields that we have, what can we do with those. Gonzalo will also go a little bit more in detail for those linked to harmonized standards. And then Sebastian will give you tips and tricks to handle image quality check, and then we will let you know where to contact us in case of issue. So Submission interface has a direct link that you can access. So if you want to do just copy paste, and it's also accessible from the CEN expert area. So when you connect to the CEN expert area in application and services, I've put it on top of it, so it's quite visible at the moment because it's new. And then you can log in with your ISO CEN login and password, and only CEN secretaries and CEN secretary support teams with that role registered in GD, have access to submission interface. Those roles are allocated by CCMC for CEN secretaries, the one that are allocated by CCMC only. CEN secretary support teams can be allocated by CCMC or national administrators. So this is the home page. It's got different functions, filters, sorting functions, and things displayed, but we will look at it in real life. So I will now go to the interface, and I will start with a little refresh of it. So this is the test environment, and it's a bit slower than the production environment. So you can see I'm on the home page, and you can see that different TCs have been loaded. So you have different functions if you want to find your way, even if you have only one TC, but it's a really big TC. So you may want to sort things and filter to have specific items shown on the dashboard of the home page. So you've got different sorting functions with the double arrows. You've got filters that you can use. You can filter the usual start with contains, does not contain, and with or equals that you just need to apply. And then you've got also one of the easy filter is just a drop down list is the one with the status. So not started, accepted, rejected, submitted, because that's obviously you want to sort probably most on those ones. So the first column is presenting you the technical body. So which TC are you in? Then you've got the work item number. Then it's giving you the reference if we have a reference registered in the CCMC database. Then it's giving you the milestone. So it's the stage code, but it's the one that's presented on the first page on Projects Online when you open. So it's the milestone. So it's not all of the stage codes, just the main ones. Then you have a deadline that should correspond to your milestone, but that is under work still. So the deadline is not really useful at the moment. Then you've got the submission type. So you can see there's different types. We've got a draft for formal vote, draft for inquiry, or you've got also the possibility to load a first working draft or a draft for inquiry when your work item has just been activated or created. Then you have the submission date for what you have submitted, and you also have the status. So you can easily view if it was submitted, or if you want to filter on your rejected items, for example, to see what you need to redeliver to CCMC, or on your accepted items to see that this one's okay, you don't need to look into those anymore. And then you have on the selection column, you have the hyperlink to open the forms. So you can open the forms if you have already submitted, so you can view what happened, and you can also open a form to submit something. So for example, to submit something, if it's if you have a choice, for example, first working draft or draft for inquiry, it will prompt you a list to choose from those two options so that the correct form is open. If you have something that was rejected, for example, so you have the form that is opening, it's showing in red, rejected, when it was rejected, and it's giving you a list of reasons of what was rejected, why it was rejected. So that is encoded in our database and displayed for you. You can see what was delivered. So a check is showing what files were delivered, and you can also correct the resubmission. So I will go and show one form how to submit. So I will open one of the not started ones, and I would choose draft for inquiry, for example. So in this one, you can see there's a work item number you've got a standard reference, if any. You can see still the technical body and the type of submission. So if you did open the work item and you were interrupted or anything, you know where you are. So you can see fields for related policies, standardization requests. So those we will show a bit more in detail later in another work item that has some information in there. And then you need to confirm the data. So it's to make sure that what is recorded in our database is correct. You've got the submission language. So most of the time for CEN, it's English, but it could be French or German. So you have the possibility to change that. English being the default because it's the one that is existing the most. On each field, you have a little question mark that is giving you explanation or where you could find explanation if you need any. And then you've got the little star that is showing what is mandatory. So a little red star means you have to deliver something. You will see that the graphic files field is only mandatory if you drop something. We will do it a bit after that. I will show you how it's working. If in your revisable format you have graphic files, then the field will remain mandatory. If you don't have any, then the field will no longer be needed. Then the PDF format, and then you've got a couple of fields that have a double confirmation. Either you confirm that there's nothing to provide, or you confirm that there is something in your document, and then you have to provide an extra document. And other fields are just or I give something, or I confirm. It's a little reminder. Yes, I have seen that there's that field, and yes, I know that I don't need to provide something in this field. Then you can also leave a comment for CCMC colleagues, so they can receive your remark, comments, or things you want to tell them. So the comment is registered in the database. So I will just open a different form so that we have the information relevant to harmonized standards. See, so that way we can see as well. See when it's rejected. I will do. I want to correct the resubmission. So now I'm going to display. This one has information relevant to harmonized standard displayed, and you can see that the fields are different. So I will let Gonzalo walk you through those fields and information.
So thanks, Melanie. So as you can see in the screen now, so one of the things that we have done already in the submission interface is that we have expanded some metadata, which is not yet available on projects online, but there is a planning to do it next year. Also to enable you to see whether, under which system this policy or legislation is, if you need an as assessment or if you need the Annex Z, because we have different possibilities depending on the type of legislation. Also, the referencing method, the typical new approach legislations are cited in the official journal, but we have a vast list of possibilities in the system, and this is often also one of the challenges dealing with the documents and the required needs for Annex Z or not. If you scroll down, Melanie, so in terms of what Melanie already highlighted, so we have the typical files. At the moment, we have a specific field for the Annex Z that we're inviting to provide as a separate document, and we have received some questions about this fact, and indeed this is an area that we'll look further in the future to see how we can cope with it. For your information, in some of the parallel work, for instance, we are talking about adoptions. The Annex Z will have to be provided by the technical bodies in those cases. If we move on in the next ones, of course, there are a series of elements that you have to provide at the moment, justification of normative references for harmonized standards. We have also, of course, the justification of unusual references, and in this case, you also need a TC decision. You can also include the comment form from the inquiry. So this is also an element, and you can provide in this field also all documents related to the comments from the Ask Consultant, or provided at the end of the screen, or in the consultant form. So this possibility is given here. In cases the risk assessment is necessary, you can also provide it in this case, and the checklist is mandatory also to be provided. So you can also add it in the file. And if you scroll down a little bit, if there is additional information or other files to be provided, our suggestion is to do it in the others field. Very often we receive a series of documents like justifications for technical decisions, reports from meetings. If in case you want to provide those, we would suggest also to make clear why they are necessary, and they should be provided in this others field. If there are specific comments to be provided in terms of the handling of the document, for instance, relationship with other series of standards or with other documents, our suggestion is to provide it in the comments to CCMC. And yeah, to be aware that, you know, we will not be able to provide a transmission notice for most of the documents. So any comment should be provided in the comment field.
Thank you, Gonzalo. Now I'm gonna go, I'm gonna use this form. So that was rejected in the first place, and I've clicked on the resubmit and correct files. And I'm going to show you some of the features I have talked about. So I see that my folder was closed. So just give me a second to navigate back to my documents. And there it is. I have so a set of documents that I can use to show you how it is working. I'm just going to reduce this a little bit. So one of the features we have is that if you provide, let's say, your revisable format, that's one of the one you need, and then you provide your PDF format. So that's one of the one you need as well. And then you need to provide the commenting form from the inquiry. So we're going to provide that one as well to make the application happen. So what you can see is I've dropped in file that does not contain figure files, and basically I can no longer provide figure files because I don't need to. There's none. So that's one of the things interesting in the application. And then also, if I just now I fill in the form. Let's say that I fill in the whole form. So I say that I don't have anything. So I'm happy with everything I've delivered, and the rest I don't need to deliver anything, which I just do. But I forget to confirm that I've checked this information on directives and standardization requests, and I just submit, and I'm being blocked. So basically, if you forget to click something that needs to be clicked, the application will remind you that you forgot to click something. It's highlighting in red what you didn't do correctly. So that's one of the feature that is existing. Now I think we've got plenty of time, so I'm going to go and upload a document for which the figure files are not okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to upload my revisable format. So now you can see that the application detected that there are figures in the document, and so I have to provide figure files. If I don't, I'm going to be told off. So I'll provide my figure file, and then I'm going to provide the necessary files. So this is just the test environment. I'm not doing anything I shouldn't do. So I have the comment file that remains there, but I've got everything, and I confirm. So when this is started, the third thing that the tool is doing, it's integrated with image quality check, and it's going to check if there is any issue with your figure files. So here it's giving you the error message saying, okay, check the form and correct the indicated errors. So it's telling you we have a problem with your something in your form. And if it's the figure files, it will open a red line here and tell you, okay, the validations of the graphic files failed, and you can download the report. Basically, it's generating, and you can access your report easily. So you will see that error messages remain on the screen. That's just to make sure that you read them and you click on them. And so that you are aware that there was an error message on the application. Now, if I change and I go and, okay, this was not the file I should have provided. So I'm going to go and provide one that is okay. So we'll give my Word file. So it's starting the analysis already, and it's already telling me off I didn't put any graphic files in there. So I give graphic files, and now it should be happy, hopefully, if it's working. It did last time. So now I'm going to submit my document. So I've filled in the data, that I've checked the data, I've given all the files and checked all the boxes that are needed, and I will just submit my documents. You can see it's analyzing the document to see if there's any issue with the file and the figure files. So it may take a while. It depends on the size of your file. It depends on the number of figures as well. So here my submission went through. So I've got a kind of report of when I submitted, and the status is submitted. So it's waiting for another step from CCMC before I'm in the clear. And also what I have submitted. So I can see I've given the revisable format, graphic files, PDF, and the comment. This remains available. So if I go back to the main page, and I will sort on TC249, so we have only that one displayed. So you can see that my document is now no longer rejected, it's submitted. And you can also see those that are not started, and if we browse to TC249, so you can see there's not many were done as test environment. So you can choose as well if you want to clear this filter, and you want to see if you want to see what was accepted, for example, you want to see just what was submitted, see if anything happened with those, nothing happened. So you can see what's the state of pink. So I think we've seen most of the function. There's not that many, I'm afraid. It's quite simple. It's just documents and processing figure files. So we've seen the most of it. So now I'm going to go back to the presentation, and I will give the floor to Sébastien so that he can give you the tricks and tips of image quality check.
Hi everyone, I'm Sébastien. I work at the production team here at CCMC, and we're going to cover here the image quality check, which is the tool implemented behind the submission interface in order to check the figures and that they meet up the requirements. This tool exists not only behind the submission interface, but also as a separate tool, which is accessible through the direct link that you see on the screen here, and also via the CEN expert area. From projects online, you do have on the top right, the image quality check button that you can click. You have access, of course, with your different logins as shown on the screen. And once you click on the image quality check, you land on the homepage, which we will see in a moment. This is here the requirements that we have for the figures, noting that the naming convention, the most important is not to have any spaces nor special symbols within the file name. Otherwise, that would be, well, it will be rejected. And also the most important one is that the link to the figures would be lost and broken in case that there are spaces or symbols. You do have the requirements for the formats, which is TIFF only, the resolution, the scaling. Scaling is the output size that you have in the Word file. I will show you in a moment how to check that, and the maximum size. I will already add a note for the maximum size. You see here it's 170 millimeters by 250 millimeters. If there is a comma, let's say 170 millimeters, comma 064, it will not be valid. So this is really, if you want to have 170 millimeters as a size, I would advise you to go a bit lower towards the 160, sorry, so that we are sure that it goes through. We do have the inserting and linking process in order to be able to view the figures on any devices. And also we do have the equations format, which should be either math type or the built-in Word equation tool. We did noticed already in the Q&A that there is a question regarding the equations, and we will need to look a bit further into that and get back to you separately after the presentation. So this is the homepage for the IQC. Pretty straightforward. The only thing that needs to be uploaded is a zip file containing the Word document and the figure files. So you can either drag and drop, or you can choose the file through your device and then click on Submit. Once you have clicked on Submit, it will analyze the file, and you will have a pop-up window appearing on the screen that you can also, this will be your report, and this report can be also downloaded as an Excel file that you see on the right side. For the first tab, we have the image tab, which will check the file naming, the resolution, and the compression and layers. The second tab would be the Word images, so that means the images within the Word document. This tab is checking whether the figures are linked or not, if the size is okay, and if the scaling is okay as well. By scaling and cropping, we mean that if the figure file needs to be readjusted on the Word document, it doesn't take enough space or too much space, it shouldn't be resized within the document itself. It should be resized using the appropriate tool, for example, Photoshop. There is a side note here that every errors detected by the image quality check tool will be highlighted in orange. The only exception is for is the link absolute within the Word document. This one will be highlighted in orange and will be checked as well. If it's not checked and not highlighted, that means that the linking is not correct. And in order to link the figures properly within the Word, once you click on the top ribbon Insert, you have the picture button that you can click, browse your device for the image you want to link. And then from the Insert button, the little arrow, you click on it and insert and link. You do have here an explanation on how to check if the figures are linked within your Word document. So by the File tab and the Info button, you can see on the bottom right the Edit Links to File. Should the pictures not be linked within the document, then this button is grayed out or is not even there. And this is here how to see once you click on the Edit Links to File button, you do have the pop-up window on the right side that appears, and you can see whether they are linked or not. We do have some TCs that they do have a lot of figures within a document, and that commented that it could be very heavy to process and to work on this document. One of the options to have the document a bit lighter would be to unsave the pictures from the document, and you can do that within this this window as well by ticking the Save Picture in Document. I'm ticking it more likely. And the most important thing is to remember to resave those pictures before providing them to CCMC. I mentioned the scaling within the Word document. So the output size, by double clicking on the figure, you can access this format option in the size window, let's say. And once you click on it, you do have the scaling, which appears on this example, it's 100% by 100%, and it shows the original size. The third tab that the IQC will be analyzing would be for Word legacy images. The legacy images format is coming from all Word documents, so .doc. Those legacy formats are not tolerated anymore, and there is a way to transform them. But first, let's see how we can identify them. When you select those figures, on the left side, you have a legacy. where you have the square outline selection, and on the right side, you do have the bullet outline selection. There is a way to convert those. It's linked with your Word document. So if it's a .doc, you can convert it to docx. On the File tab, you will have the option to convert it. Then from the file, you can check for the issues, check compatibility, and select all the options in the next window. Then you save the document as a docx, close the Word document, reopen it, and check the images in their links, which should be correct. And the last tab on the report shows the word shapes. Word shapes are usually auto shapes from Word text boxes. Those are usually entered by mistake, and they have to be removed. I will show you in a moment how to find those. On this tab, though, you do have one line that needs to be disregarded. Those are the math type equations. They are just there for a reference, just to know that there are the equations over there. But if you see, you do have when you have the total count, on the example here below, we have 2 in total. And when you see alternate format are 2 and 1 equation. So the equation is left out of the total. In order to find figures, equations, shapes, and objects within the document, the first tip would be to enable the paragraph mark so that you have a better visibility. And to browse the different figures graphics, you can open the navigation pane by pressing Ctrl F on your keyboard. You will arrive on this panel where by clicking on the magnifying glass, you can select the graphics and navigate with the arrows up and down. Here on the right side of the screen, you do have E6 procedure for sampling. This is an example of where you have a shape hidden behind the text, behind the necessary. You do have a great square, and it's represented as well by the blue anchor. In order to remove it, you can click on that blue anchor, click right, and cut. So here, of course, this is still, well, this is technology. So it can be that there are some troubles. It's a new system for most of you. And therefore, we do have a help desk. The help desk for the feedback, questions, and issues. You can always contact us at production, but note as well that there is already guidance on the CEN expert portal and on CEN Bus as well. Of course, if nothing works, because that can happen, we do have the IT support at censenelect.eu that can be contacted.
Thanks. So thanks, Sebastian. There are a few questions, so we will make a short pause and we'll go to it, and we'll come back to you in 1 minute. So there is a first question, which is there a naming convention for the drafts submitted? In the guidance in the boss page, we still keep it there. However, with the submission interface, there is a treatment of the files provided, and the files are saved on our hand. So there is no need to following. So I think we give it some flexibility on that sense for this naming convention. So the next question is about the insertion of equations as image. So I think this is important to highlight that you shouldn't do that. We recommend math type because this also facilitates the editing and the export into XML. There are other alternatives like word equations. So if you have additional questions in that sense, do not hesitate to contact CCMC.
So for first deliveries that used to be available to on e-trans. So now there is a system that is picking up what is arrived to us from submission interface and is loading them onto Nuxeo in the first delivery folder accessible to those who need them.
There is a new question from Bernard Schaffner, so about the submission of inquiry comments or resolution of comments to FTs. So in the submission interface, it's possible to submit it's possible. You should also submit the inquiry comments and the resolution of the comments at the formal vote. For parallel work, everything is handled through the submission to ISO Central Secretariat. The final question we have at the moment is from Zolt and is about the math type equations. From our perspective, the documents that are headed, so the figure files, the equations are not saved as figures in the Word. It could be that there may be some ad hoc cases where there are issues with the documents. Zolt, I would suggest you come back to us on specific cases if you have. But in principle, this shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, that was the last question in the list. So thank you very much, Gonzalo, Melanie, and also Sebastian for this presentation. I suggest that we close down the webinar here. As said at the beginning, we have a Senelec webinar dedicated to the submission interface later today. So if you're concerned, please feel free to join us. We're recording this webinar, so you will be provided with the link and the presentation later today. And you're, of course, welcome to join our upcoming webinars. There is a first one in 2023 on harmonized healthcare standards. So thank you very much for joining and see you next time. Bye-bye.